1, 2. I think everybody's getting a bit bored to see me on stage now, but yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot. I'd like to welcome back everybody again. But before I start, I'd like to welcome our, I would say 4 guests, right? I think I had 3 guests earlier today, but today now we have 4. So I've got to split up a bit of the time. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Haein Jeong from Krafton. Maybe I'll let Haein introduce a little bit of yourself while I start up my...
Okay. Hello, my name is Haein from Krafton. So I'm in charge of the PUBG Esports, PC Esports strategy to communicate with between the management level and the esports relevant team to build the esports, PUBG PC Esports in the world.
So next introduce Haein, Head of Esports Ecosystem from MOONTON Games. Ray, maybe a quick introduction.
Hi, this is Ray. I've been working in the esports field for close to a decade. Recently, I'm at the MOONTON Head of Ecosystem, so that we are building a lot of partnership globally with IESF C-Game. Definitely we'll dive deeper to that later.
Next, we have Joe Jenkins, Head of Esports from IMG Media. Joe, quick introduction.
Thanks, Mark. So yeah, for those who don't know IMG, we're a traditional sports agency, or I should say in quotations, that we look after major rights holders, IP owners, and I guess event hosters in the traditional space. We broker broadcast and sponsorship rights globally. We're headquartered out of the UK, but we have regional offices in pretty much every major market around the world, including here in Singapore. So where I sit is within our esports and gaming division, and we do exactly that, basically for game publishers, tournament organizers, such as PGL, Epic Games, and Blast Esports as well.
And last but not least, we have Charlie Hanley-Nickolls from Grid, CPO of Grid. Charlie.
Thanks, Mark. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, the Chief Procurement Officer at Grid. Grid Esports are a data company. We work with game publishers like of Krafton here, tournament organizers and rights entities like Joe with IMG. We specialize in building technology that extracts live data out of games as they're being played, turns that into revenue channels, makes it available to fans or teams or players or entities that want to build products for certain games driven off data.
So we really have a good esteemed list of panels from developers, from media agency, from a data company as here. So I think just very quickly to run through the session is, I would say, esports ecosystem, right? So we have everybody here like an omelette. To make a good one, we got to experiment, right? Ready to adopt, different kinds of stuff. And from, eggs to esports, each ecosystem is a different beast. And in 2023, we have partners programs equivalent like what Ray mentioned with IESF, with a lot of other partners as well with different kind of events. So how should publishers work with third parties, right, outside of just tournament organizing? And I've seen that done quite a fair bit over the last few years. So we'll quickly delve into a few key questions which are asked individually before we ask some wide questions to everybody. So I'll start with Haein, right? I think I'll say there's a strong growth of PUBG over the last few years, right? Could you share on the key markets that you're looking next? Also possibly share any new games that Krafton is looking to come into the market. Whatever you can share. Okay.
Okay. So everybody might agree that APAC is the key market to expand more coverage from the global publisher developer perspective. So the fandom and viewership are getting higher, bigger compared to other regions. For example, we had a national competition we called the PUBG Nations Cup in Bangkok, Thailand last year. So it was huge success with the 20,000 audience in 4 days. We are finding the opportunity how we can leverage this growth from APAC market with our local office, such as APAC customized new event launch and partnership development with our local office, and also global perspective. So we are having a look to have one more global event in this year in APAC market.
So any games that you're looking to come into the market, any new games, can you share? No.
I didn't get the approval from Krafton side, but actually, so Krafton want to expand more coverage in all around the world. based on the specific their needs in the specific market.
Okay, good. I think that's my job, right, to ask a bit more different questions. Whether they can answer or not, it's up to them. But I like to try, right? I think so far. I think we've gone to Ray, right? I think MOONTON just completed your MSC last weekend. One of the best viewership ever. I think there's a lot of good records. So could you share some key takeaways from MSC this year in Cambodia?
Yeah, I think generally MSC we consider the event is a great success. Not just that it's the first international event in Cambodia. No one thought of Cambodia can host an international event before. And the viewership also comes in very good, like 3.6 million peak viewers. And if we dive deeper and you see that different platform, we have different kind of viewership, but we see a very good rising trend of TikTok as a live streaming platform. Not just TikTok itself is a very good social platform to do viral content, but we've also explored that further to push this like long time live content to it. And it already surpassed Facebook to be the second most watched platform for the MSC event, and also see the viewership double compared to last year MSC. So what we've been working very closely with TikTok and to pull out all this content for our fans, a really good result from that. And apart from that, another thing is we finally see Indonesian team winning MLBB international tournament, which is good. And also one key thing to highlight is the Cambodian team make top 4. Is the best result for the country so far. So we see this kind of uprising country, not just like the mature market like Indonesia, Philippines dominating MLBB scene, but this kind of uprising country is also being very competitive nowadays.
So no more hacking of accounts, of social media accounts since the Indonesian team won, right?
One of our interesting thing to share is one of our shoutcaster who did the draw for group stage. The IG account got banned because the wage fans from Indonesia doesn't happy with the group draw, but eventually the Indonesian team get the championship. So this is one.
It was restored immediately after he won. He was so excited. I saw him post on IG. I think for Joe, right, I think I'd like to share, right, I think from PGL to GF Esports, I see that IMG is putting out a lot of emphasis on esports over the past couple of years. Could you share more on IMG's future plans for esports, if you don't mind?
Yeah, of course. So, like I said in my bio, IMG is we've played in the sports space for probably over 60 years now, representing leading federations and IP owners such as Wimbledon, the RNA Golf, Rugby World Cup, Premier League, distributing their broadcasting rights, sponsor rights globally. When we set up our esports and gaming division about 7 or 8 years ago now, this is the starting point of where we integrated that business into our portfolio. And since then, we've made a conscious effort to incorporate that, esports and gaming, or at least an esports and gaming strategy, into all the different verticals IMG has to offer, whether that be in tournament operations and hosting live events, broadcast production, brand licensing. We have a great brand licensing team that look after all the Epic Games, Fortnite rights there, as well as an increasing number of other publishers they're taking on, or even just marketing, PR, comms, and then our talent division as well. We now have a heavy roster of, heavy talent pool of content creators, gaming and esports players as well that are part of that group that we can leverage to our brand partners. But I guess in terms of where we go next and what we're looking to do is we spent a lot of time, past 7 or 8 years developing that full service offering. And something our president, Adam Kelly, talks about quite a bit is how IMG are going through a transitional period at the moment of going from a traditional, more transactional model, what we used to be, like we're a rights broker, we sell and distribute media content sponsorships, to actually how can we become this full service agency that becomes a strategic business partner for our current clients, our future clients, and leverage other parts of the business as well. And where that kind of comes back to within esports and gaming is that we're uniquely positioned, we believe we're uniquely positioned at the moment with the 60 plus years knowledge and experience we've gained through commercializing traditional sports networks and rights and IP and how we can use that and incorporate that within the gaming space, and use other areas of the business, whether that be, our new digital media marketing agency, 7 League, to build out specific digital and social platforms in particular markets, then go and monetize and just generally become a more strategic advisor and long-term business partners for our clients, rather than this, transactional partner where it's just about brokering rights.
Right, I think for Charlie, I've been reading a lot of good news from Grid. I think a lot of good partnerships with Pinnacle and Riot over the past months, right? I think, could you share a little bit more on any other key partnerships that's on the table that Grid is looking at?
Yeah, of course. So a good example that you bring up is Riot. Another good recent example of announced partnerships with the guys at Krafton. If we look back 2 years ago, a couple of ESIs ago, we were announcing entering into data partnership with the likes of Riot and the likes of Krafton. And that's the early stage of it. We look to build their data infrastructure, help them explore what data can do for esports and for gaming, build the technology that extracts it, and help our partners understand that the value that's possible there, whether that be the revenue or the engagement of the fans. And then we build on that from there. So over the last 6 months, we're announcing new deals with the same guys. So, and this is good part for the panel topic. Each game or each esport has different requirements or different ways to grow. For the team at Riot, it was very much about, we want to put the power of data in the hands of our community and our teams and our players. So together with Grid, we've built out the VALORANT data portal, which makes official data available to the teams and the players. And at the other end of the scale of where the data value lies, Krafton looking at how to engage the fans during events. So building out a fantasy product and letting fans engage with the event as a fantasy sport. So yeah, we're always looking to build on the value that we bring to the partners, and helping them explore what works for them in the data ecosystem. You ask if there's anything interesting we can announce. Unfortunately, I don't have clearance, similar to my friend Haein, but we will be announcing a major partnership with a AAA game publisher in the next few weeks. So if this had been next month, we could have done something nice, but unfortunately, you have to wait.
So we're going to do another ESI next month. But I think, back to you again, Charlie. I think, is Grid looking to launch any new key services, right? I think any of the services that you're looking to launch, any new data stuff, like anything to share?
So for us, the key part of our service is always the official data piece. So that's what we work, for example, with the guys at IMG, all of the official Dota Pro Circuit competitions. The core service is always extracting data with technology and making it available for whatever use cases. From that platform, and this goes back to the examples I just gave, wherein if you build the infrastructure that can extract data and make it available to any use case, ultimately it's then down to the partner, whether they're a TO or a game publisher. They say, we would love to use data in this way. And we help them explore that, help them build that service out, help them develop that vision. So we're continuously releasing new services or products in line with the partners. A major one this year was what we call open platforms. So we sit on a vast amount of official data that we're gathering directly from the servers with our partners. And we want to make that available to the community who want to build products, want to have ideas for cool stuff to build with official data. So we offer a subset of our data for free to anyone who wants to build on it. Yeah, I'd say that's a good example of a recent service.
I think over to Joe, right? I think you mentioned it a bit, like it's the IMG is pretty open now, opening up into esports, right? But I think, has it been tough to convince internal management at times, right? I think, especially, I'm from the sports industry. I've worked with a lot of people, much a bit more older, but it's not easy. So anything like that?
Yeah, good question. Excuse me. Yes and no. I mean, look, IMG see great value in the esports and gaming offering we have across the business in the number of verticals I explained just now, both commercially and strategically. Excuse me. They see it as a great wheelhouse to have as part of their offering. I think at times in the early days it was challenging to, educate, I think, internally what this, esports ecosystem was, and there's still now challenges such as, a lot of the rights deals we do are 5 to 10 years long, whereas I don't think there's a rights deal in esports that lasts that long. So, trying to navigate yearly rights short term, it has its challenges, but I think overall we've been playing in this space for, like I said, 7 to 8 years now, and leadership and management have become quite accustomed to what we're doing. So, yeah.
Cool. I think we'll go back to Ray, right? I think MOONTON launched a new wildcard launch video in preparation for M5 over the weekend. It seems like there are more regions and countries coming in. Could you share on what countries are MOONTON looking to expand in, especially in the next 6 months to a year?
Yeah, currently we are trying to expand to beyond Southeast Asia. So from the past few years in Southeast Asia, the whole ecosystem of MLBB esports is already quite there yet already. So what we are now trying to do is expand to regions like MENA, CIS, or even small country like Mongolia. And from this country, Mongolia, we see the competitiveness level is there. The player is very strong. Last year also attended the PUBG Mobile World Championship, and the Mongolia team won the second place, I think. Yeah, I think you never follow this country with medium people but can get into that level of competitiveness. So this is definitely quite impressive to us. And apart from that, North America is also our key market to expand. So we have some partners from all the way from America is also attending this forum. Excuse me. So I think that's all the region we mentioned. And throughout this expansion with this wildcard launch, I think that will be a very good top-down system that we establish the pathway for this major region to have a path to go to the World Championship. So that's why we launched the wildcard. This is M5. And we have 2 countries still haven't announced. So stay tuned. We'll be announcing very soon for that.
Is Gerard from NA over here? He was here earlier today. So the guy, okay, cool. So North America, right? Next market. I think for Haein, I think, you mentioned about Mongolian teams doing well in PUBG Mobile, right? Last year, right? I think the Nepal team got, 2nd or 3rd, and I think 4th and 5th is the Mongolian teams. So my question as well is, like for Krafton, has been a fine divide between PC or mobile, right? Do share your thoughts if one day is it mobile, we're going to overtake PC, and what's Krafton's thoughts on it?
I'd like to say only about the esports industry. Yep. I think, yes, I agree. It's each tournament has its own dedicated fan base from the specific market, specific region, such as Asia for the mobile esports, and Western like the PC much more than mobile. Also, this kind of the healthy balance will continue to evolve based on the strengths of each fandom community. So I think each tournament can support and uplift one another to leading the growth together.
Very good answer. Yeah. Very diplomatic answer, but I think totally okay. Yeah. But I think I would like to questions open to all 4 of you, right? I think this year, especially we have like the esports calendar is pretty stacked, right? I think it's non-stop. I think for players, we also care what they play, right? I think we have SEA Games that just finished. You have Asian Games coming up. I think PUBG Mobile is there. SEA Games, you have Mobile Legends, and then you have IESF as well in some events in Saudi Arabia, right? And according with your local leagues going on as well. So what's your take on this, right? We talk about cricket calendar being totally fixed up, but now esports calendar is totally stacked up. But what are your thoughts? Is it good on the data perspective for Charlie?
Yeah, prefer not to talk about the cricket today, actually. Unfortunate. So what we've seen over the years, there's always the demand to do more in the calendar, and this has naturally led to a system where it's, you know, very much a push and pull natural balance, where the calendar will fill up to the point that it starts to break, and there might be fatigue in the players or the fans of the community, and then the events will naturally tick down a bit. And particularly in the Valve ecosystems, the guys running the events have built up pretty robust structures to communicate to each other who's doing what and when. So for me, this is it takes a lot of work to regulate and to manage, but it also has an element of self-managing in terms of the demand and the push and pull on the system. From the data side, obviously we're always hoping for more. So more content is always good, but there is a balance to strike. You're absolutely right there, but that's part of where data really helps, is when you have so much going on. It can be difficult for the fans to follow the storylines of who's good and why, and putting that data into the hands of the publishers, into the broadcast, into the esport, helps you tell stories with data, and you can see who is good and why at a macro scale. That if you miss 2 or 3 weeks in esports, you can be quite far behind on the meta or the trends. But data lowers that barrier for entry for getting up to speed or familiarizing yourself with what's strong and why.
Oh, how about Joe? What do you think? Too many events like cricket?
Again, I'd rather not comment on the cricket today. I mean, similar to Charlie, we operate in similar fields, like within the Valve ecosystem, through our relationships with PGL and Blast and whatnot. I think this year, more than any other year I've worked within IMG, within esports, it's we've had so much inbound outreach to us from new tournament organisers, new rights becoming available to go and represent, and it's interesting that this year of all years that comes around. But yeah, I think our perspective is, look, it's great. It's more content available for us to go and sell and package in with other rights we have available. I do agree with Charlie that there's a balance within this. I think there's certain tournament organisers and operators that have very robust structures, and I think my gut tells me that there's going to be a period of market consolidation at some point. Like Charlie said, there's a balance and burnout with players, and what is meaningful to the fan. If there's too much, if the market's cluttered. So yeah, when that will come, I don't know, but yeah, that's what my thought is.
So now we go back to the developers. So Ray, what you think is pretty tight, because we have a team in Mobile Legends. So they asked me, should we win every tournament? I said, can you win every tournament? So what's your take?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when we talk about ecosystem, it's a very broad topic, right? Basically, everything fall under ecosystem. So when I get this job, they told me like you're the esports ecosystem team somewhere. Like, oh, that's pretty much everything. And speaking about that, the licensing of all these tournament, I think originally when we are doing this kind of licensing, at the beginning we are just trying to fill in the content gap in between, because we have our official tournaments, like the official Mobile Legends Esports League, World Championship, the MSC, the MPL ongoing. So basically, there's like 2-3 months, 1 year will be nothing happening. So that's why we started filling up this content gap while working with different partners. And but with times go by, we also license out a lot of like country level event, and that's where we see the values coming in from the country pride. If you notice, one thing that we do differently with Mobile Legends Esports, we put the country flag alongside with the teams. So we arouse the country pride, so that the level of awareness from the country and the audience will be cheering for the team, not just because of the team itself, but also for the country itself. So this is something we did very differently. And what we noticed from SEA Games that we just read up, we have a female tournament, like medal title in the tournaments. And from the past record of the female tournament that we have generated, the awareness from the community is just about 100K of peak viewership. But from SEA Games, it's rose up to like over a million peak view from that category. So that's also surprised us because when the national prize come in the plate, and that you arise more awareness, and not just for the country pride itself, but also it acts as a very important elements to educate the public, because a lot of us attending this event are esports experts, right? But when we talk about these people really understand esports and really into this field, it's just only iceberg, like very little of us, like 5-10%. But throughout this like national event, we can push it out to like the general public to build the awareness of esports. So that's how esports can grow further, and maybe eventually in the future we consider as a sport title for every country. So I think for this kind of tournaments, licensing this means a lot to us, and also to the whole esport industry to level up.
So I have two questions for Haein, right? I think talk about countries, right? What Ray mentioned. You talk about your Nations League, which did very well last year.
Yes.
So I think with that, and then we have Asian Games coming up with for PUBG Mobile as well. And then this year, I would say PUBG Mobile also have their own local league and their own super league, right? So how, it's like so many more competitions coming up. What's your take on it? Is it good? I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I think it's the positive signal for esports industry, specifically for the global publisher. So through this kind of the various tournaments, the game product itself can reach not only hardcore gamer, but also to people who has no interest of game through these various tournaments. So it means publisher can expand more coverage and can take more interest and traffic as well, and revenue as well. So yes, I think through this kind of the situation, so both can make a synergy for esports industry to make it bigger, I think.
Okay, I think very good, different kind of feedback and thoughts. But I think back to where we look at from ecosystem, right? We have the games, we have the developers, but most importantly is the fans, right? The fans who gives the money, the fans who watch us, the fans who really support the teams, right? So from watching tournaments online to traditional platforms, right? We have seen a lot of traditional platforms coming on. What do you think should be the next key innovation for audience experience or bring more fans to know about esports? I'd like to hear your thoughts. I think traditional sports, we have third screen, second screen. I'd like to hear your thoughts. So what's the next to bring to the next level for fans to watch esports? Charlie, since you are the data expert, the technology expert, what maybe something that you are doing that is something that is going to be interesting maybe? I don't know.
I was hoping you'd ask Joe first, so I had time to think of something interesting to say, but as the traditional sports guy. But we're seeing people certainly looking to innovate, so there's more and more we're seeing incidences of companies setting up or experimenting with the virtual stadium. We're seeing pitches or pre-seeds going in for entities that are built around a virtual stadium experience where you buy a ticket and you walk around and you're part of the crowd in that sense. So there looks like there's interest there. There's some momentum there. For me, nothing. If you look at the traditional sports, nothing will ever replace being there in person and being part of the crowd. I think most of us who've ever been to a big esports event, you always remember the first time you walked into the stadium and there's this game that you've been playing for years, and suddenly you're surrounded by thousands of people with the same passion, and you hear the roar of the crowd, and you're like, oh, this is something. And it's the same being a big football fan myself. You'll never replace that. But you can look to do new things. It's obviously an online environment. Going in person is obviously limited to the few that can make it there. So it's good to see this experimentation. I don't think anything's surging ahead in terms of, oh, this is clearly working and everyone loves this piece of innovation and this is the way that people will consume esports online in the future. But as the publishers are embracing their viewing experience, that you look at likes of Riot with taking more of an ownership on that broadcast experience. It will continue to develop and people will try continue to try new things, and I'm sure that will be exciting to watch play out. But for me, it'll always be in person is king.
So before I go to Joe, so anything for offline experience that you think being a sports fan, can be improved for esports events? Any idea that you have?
Offline. Well, so I was listening to the panel yesterday. Mark from Odin brought up the point of a big part of the gamer experience is watching a stream and watching a streamer, and you get involved with them. They put your comment up, or they talk about you in some personal way in the broadcast. Bringing some some element of that into the arena would be quite interesting. So perhaps you have streamers at the event, and they're doing the stream, and the stream's up on the stage, and they can involve individuals in the audience. That might be interesting. That's a good idea. Thanks, Mark.
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of flip the point you made about traditional sport on its head. I think the way esports is, I guess, naturally consumed on Twitch or YouTube or whatever the preferred platform is 10 times more engaging than watching a traditional sportscast regardless. I think the fan engagement features and naturally part of the broadcast are one of the best selling points about an esports broadcast, and it's certainly something we include when we're talking with brand partners or partners that want to be involved in the space of how a gaming broadcast, that be it through a streamer network or creator network or official channels that the likes of us distribute to, what they can provide partners to engage with that audience. I think the traditional sports space can probably take a lot of learnings from that. In terms of what's next, I think using the likes of Grid and the data they're providing to create new features to be part of the broadcast and new products that can give the user more insight it is always going to be beneficial there. And then I think the use of strategic partners, ones that can come on and bring genuine value to the fan, rather than just a logo slap here or there, but ones that can actually, provide them value, whether that be offline, online, and engage the audience that way.
I think Ray, first time this season, for MPL, I heard mic check live, right? I get to hear, luckily there's no cursing on MPL SG, but what are the key innovations that maybe, let's say, MOONTON or have anything, or you have in mind that, to elevate that kind of online or offline experience?
Yeah, I think we have technical perspective and non-technical perspective. I think that mic chat live is some feature we put in. Is the technology is already there, but you just want to put in this feature to a live tournament so that it create more instant content to audience. And for the MSC we just wrapped up, we also open a window up for the coach room, so that the audience can actually see what's happening inside when the teams is between matches. They do inside to discuss strategy things and this kind of live reaction. We also see some recap from TikTok. The fans just put a phone and capturing that moment to the during the break time that they're discussing the strategy and something and post it on TikTok, and that content goes viral. So this kind of thing, we are just a very small little thing, but when you put into esports, that will be very interesting. From technology point of view, I think I want to highlight is the power of AI. When you look at all these social viral content or whatever, most of the content are very in time, right? You post it the earliest, you got the most view. So I think in the future, maybe AI can generate more instant content and put it on the social apps or something like that. Will be a lot healthier for us to generate more content for our audience for an instant time point of view.
Any thoughts here for Krafton? Any technology advancements you're looking at for your live broadcast or esports or anything?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I don't have no idea about the offline, but I'm focusing on the online. So actually, we'd like to provide immersive experience for our fans. So as Charlie mentioned, so that's why we have launched the Fantasy League for PUBG Esports based on the web service. So we think that through this kind of the fan engagement, using the kind of web service, it may distinguish us from the other contents option like the Netflix, Watcha, and other traditional sports contents. So as we are exploring new enjoyable contents using the innovation system, so that's why we are discussing with Grid to add more value to our PUBG Esports to make fans deep into PUBG Esports further using the innovation engagement experience for our fans.
I'm a big fan of Fantasy League, right? Whether it's football or whatever game we have, right? I think, can you guys share a little bit more about the Fantasy League for PUBG?
Yeah, actually, it's the kind of similar model with the traditional sports system. So fans can buy players with the limited budget, and fans get the score based on the actual performance data in the real tournament. And they can change the kind of the point to the in-game item. So that's our kind of methodology.
Well, no, interesting, right? And I just want to let people know more. I think a lot of traditional sports fans. So I'll pose this question back to MOONTON. Is there any plans for a Fantasy League?
Internally, we spoke about it, and I think the idea is up there in the air, and see if we can put it into like actual stuff to execute later in the future. Yeah.
So I always ask questions that they don't know, right? It's just on and on. I like to post some questions like that, so whether they answer or not, we try. I think that's what the panel is for, right? I think to ask questions that, to share with the audience. So I think with that, I think we're almost time's up today. So any questions and answers for this X-Team panel? I'm sure there are some questions you want to ask from PUBG, Mobile Legends, or data. Any questions? Is that a green? No questions for this panel? All right, we have one over there, the lady, please. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Boram from Unipin Global. So one of the most important aspects in the ecosystem is the sponsorship, right? The revenue stream, because, well, when we are talking about esports, the biggest chunk of the revenue is still coming from the sponsorship. And right now, it's not easy to convince non-endemic brands, because when we're talking about the sponsorship, the one who owns like the biggest marketing money, the cash is actually coming from, let's say, FCMG brands like food and beverages. And then talking about sponsorship as well, like some publishers has strict rules for not allowed to accept like certain sponsorship, right? So to convince those endemic brands into esports ecosystem, so what do you think will make them happy and interested? Because one thing for sure that numbers only is not going to be enough for them. Thank you so much.
Sponsorship. Anybody want to answer that? Ray?
Shall I go?
IMG should answer it. Yeah, IMG, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, great question. I think with non-endemic brands coming into the space, there's always a big education part to that. And I think that often takes time. And part of that education is being able to see the product, walk through that process, whether that be online, offline, experiencing it live in person. I think what ultimately they're after is the audience itself, and look, this varies between different game publisher to game title, what that audience is, but once they can hone in on that and find a authentic way to activate towards that audience and drive value towards that audience, I think that's really the tipping point for them. I think the major challenge we find certainly is providing the insights and data to brands. I think, from a broadcast perspective, Twitch are have certain restrictions around what data they can provide, and that often proves challenging to, like these big FMCG brands who are used to traditional marketing and have all the data and all the insights in front of them. We're still in quite a new era here. So, in short, there are challenges, but it's mainly that education piece that sometimes takes some time. And once you dissect what that audience is and have a clear strategy of how to approach it, it's I think the results have been really positive for those brands that have taken the plunge into the space.
Ray, anything?
Yeah, I think we do have a PD expert here, Alexis, also here, so that feel free to come to her and discuss more. But from my perspective, the esports sponsorship difference is that we need to do more education to a lot of brands. Although there's a lot of brands coming into esports and look at do see the values from the youngest in the market, but I think one thing to educate them is like sponsoring esports is more on a long-term perspective. You cannot see like you sponsor 6 months, you immediately see your sales like increase a lot. That doesn't make sense for sponsoring esports. So we do look at those kind of conversion rate and also this kind of brand awareness for the brand being cooperative with esports. But more or less of them is like a long-term education, no matter to our audience and also to our sponsors as well. It's a long-term education for them to know that it's actually to build awareness for brand instead of like performance marketing. If you look at performance marketing, why don't you just buy ads on Facebook, YouTube, right, whatever to drive sales? But esports sponsorship is definitely different from that. That's my perspective. But if you want to know more, I can get to Alexis.
Anything to add, Haein?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, definitely agree. So I was working for sports industry for a few years, so I thought it's quite similar. It was quite similar between the sports and esports for its sponsorship. But yes, we were struggling with the esports sponsorship for the PUBG esports. So that's why we are trying to change the view of revenue, not from the sponsorship, from the brand. So like the data company, thanks to Grid. So we kind of make a new revenue stream from the new business to replace the decreasing esports sponsorship.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to the question you asked. I think when we were in Cambodia last weekend, I think with Alexis, I think we actually brought a couple of our boys to the petrol shop, right? They didn't believe about esports, they did a bit of product sponsorship, right? But I think when we brought a couple of our boys to the petrol shop, they were shocked. We had like almost like a couple of hundred fans going after them. But I think a lot of traditional brands feel it only when they see it. Like I think to a lot of us, I didn't believe in esports till I watched an esports event, right? Like what Charlie mentioned, going offline until you realize that, okay, this is what it is. This is esports. So until they get a taste of it, they feel it. And I think this is a journey, right, through education. And I think there'll be many, many more brands coming on board, especially in this part of the world. So yeah, that's to share as well. Any more questions? One more? No more? I think everybody is looking forward to lunch. All right, so let's give a round of applause to my panelists here. Thank you.